the Dodgers overcome a 5-run deficit, the greatest comeback in an elimination game of a World Series of all time. And they got a lot of help from their friends. And I'll tell you what, I'd give Aaron Judge a game ball. I would give Volpe a game ball. I would. Boy, do they suck on defense. My God, do they even practice? I don't think they practice. I think they only practice hitting the Yankees. They don't practice defense. At least if they do practice defense, they're wasting their time. Wow, are they terrible. But the Dodgers, the most exciting play in baseball, a sac fly. The Dodgers got a couple of sac flies, Gavin Lux and Mookie Betts in the 8th inning, and they win it 7-6, the final, the 8th World Championship in Dodger history, although we count the ones really only in L.A. But they win franchise 8th title all time, and Walker Buehler, doing something the Dodgers rarely do, asked to go above and beyond the call of duty. Normally the Dodgers say just do the bare minimum. It drives me crazy. You know that. I love the Dodgers, but it drives me nuts. Like, to me, playoff baseball and the postseason is all about testing the boundaries of the human body. Very rarely do the Dodgers do that. And Walker Buehler, it was his day to throw on the side, but he came in and he put the finishing touches. Although the game was really run, it was won in the 8th inning because that was with the meat of the Yankee lineup. But nonetheless, Walker Buehler came in, first relief appearance since 2018, and he nailed it down, pitched a perfect 9th inning, struck out former Dodger. Look for symbolic moments here. The guy that was traded by the Dodgers to get Mookie Betts from the Red Sox is the guy that's now in the Yankees who struck out to close out the game. But Walker Buehler, first Major League save, ball game over, series over, season over, as the Doyers are the kings of Major League Baseball. And I'll tell you right now, I was driving in here. I left right after the game, and I was treated to Disney fireworks as I was cruising in here. It was very reminiscent of what happened during the pandemic back in the day. And I know in L.A. here, a lot of people have access to those Mexican fireworks, man, and they are going for it. It is, like, insane. I thought I was in Fallujah. There were so many explosions going off on my way in, but the Dodgers are the champs. So let us discuss the question, what is your level of surprise? Your level of surprise at the Dodgers comeback down 5-0, and they win the championship. So I have Casey at the bat, Shakespeare, and remote control. And we will combine all of these things together, and we will have a celebratory parade, which they're going to have in Los Angeles the day after Halloween. But the first thought I have on this, if you were to dust off an old friend, the Maller scale of astonishment, 1 to 10, with 10 being OMG, that would be a 10, right? So I'm going to be measured here. I don't want to be a shock jock and be over the top. But when it was 5-0 in the middle innings and it looked like the Dodgers were about to call off the Dogs and try to fight another day on Friday in Game 6, and then to see them come back, this is on the Maller scale of astonishment, 1 to 10, and I don't want to be too dramatic, 999. That's where it was. I was at 999 on the Maller scale of astonishment. It was absolutely bananas, right? It was bonkers. It was all that. And great on so many levels, right? So many levels. When it's 5-0, you know what I felt like? I felt like a pastrami because I was getting peppered by my annoying friends who are on the East Coast who are Yankee fans who were like, oh, how you doing, Dodger boy? Yeah, same old Dodgers, right? Yeah. My favorite, a friend of mine I've known for years who clearly does not listen to anything I ever say on the radio. Oh, the Yankees have all the momentum. How'd that work out? How's that momentum? How's that doing? Is that good? You enjoying that momentum? Yeah? You losers? Yeah, so then the tide turned, and boy did it turn. And if you're a baseball person, you probably heard somewhere along the way there's the famous poem, Casey at the Bat. There's no joy in Mudville, but I'd like to bring up a different Casey here for a second. That would be former Brooklyn and New York Yankee manager Casey Stengel, and I quote him all the time, the immortal words of Casey Stengel, who pointed out so eloquently, way before my time and before your time, that most ball games are lost, not won. And this is a great example of that. Right? This is a great example. It was glorious. It was a tsunami of mistakes, fundamentally flawed by the New York Yankees there. And just to give you a follow-up, those annoying New Yorkers who were texting me during the game as they were up 5-0 and they were prematurely celebrating, having a grand time. Radio silence. Radio silence when the sinkhole opened up and they fell in there. So TV's bloopers and practical jokes watching the Yankees try to play defense there, whether it's not covering first base. You even had catcher's interference. How often do you see that? Man. All right, now, page 2 here. So as we look at and continue to break down the Dodgers winning the championship here, how can you put into context the performance by Freddie Freeman in the World Series? Now, he took home the MVP honors, Freddie Freeman. But this is really the Shakespearean wisdom. It's Shakespeare's wisdom, what Freddie Freeman did here. It's the stuff that dreams are made of. It is. I mean, this is the master class on stepping up. And one of my pet peeves in this era of the Dodgers is oftentimes their biggest stars have been zeros in big games. It drives me insane. But Freddie Freeman's not on that naughty list. Freddie Freeman went out there, put his big boy pants on. The lights were not too bright. The stage was not too big. All those cliches. He hits a 2-run single in this game, part of the Dodger rally. Has 12 RBIs in the World Series, most tying the all-time record. Bobby Richardson back 60-plus years ago, almost 70 years ago, and voted World Series MVP, and rightfully so. There's nobody else that could have been the MVP. So the Dodgers were right there. They were 1 out from losing the opener. And the defining moment, even with this bonkers game in Game 5, the defining moment will still be, years from now, when we look back at this, it'll be the Freddie Freeman Grand Slam. Very similar to 1988, if you're looking for comparisons in that. And all you trolls that were, well, the last time the Dodgers and Yankees played, and the teams that won the first 2, and then they lost the next, blah, 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 blah. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. So Freddie Freeman, this is his World Series, and who knows how many more years he's going to play, but this is it. He's won before, and maybe he'll win again, but nothing will be quite like this. Now, the last word here, and we'll be talking about this most of the night. I'm not going to spend the whole night on it, but we'll talk mostly baseball throughout the overnight. So how do you put into context put the bow on the package here, the 2024 title? What does this do? What does this do for Dave Roberts and the Dodgers in general? So we'll start with Dave Roberts. I have been very critical. I will remain very critical of Dave Roberts. There's a lot of things that annoy me. A lot of things that he does and the Dodgers do that bother me. Asking the bare minimum out of players, for example. The bullpen games. I hate those Fugazi bullpen games. I can't stand them. I hate them. But fair is fair, right? Fair is fair. And so this is a night Dave Roberts gets some flowers. Enjoy your flowers. They die soon, but enjoy them. Dodgers win the championship, and Dave Roberts saves his job. He should have been I would have fired him. I probably fired him 10 times over the years, Dave Roberts. But the last 2 years, absolutely gutless, cowardly baseball by the Dodgers in the playoffs against the Padres and the Diamondbacks. But they make up for it, right? You make up for it. You win the World Series this year. But to get beaten to a pulp by San Diego and Arizona and then come back, Roberts was hanging on by his fingernails, and he liked to bite his fingernails, right? The fellows figured it out. But this is a textbook example also of something that we often preach from the bully pulpit here at Fox Sports Radio, that the stats tell you what has happened, not what's going to happen. Because if you look at this going into the World Series, the Yankees had better starting pitching. The Dodgers had played very well offensively, but the Yankees with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, you thought, well, those two guys are legit. Yankee Stadium, all that. Even though the Dodgers had home field, a lot of the advantages were in favor of the Yankees. So you don't really worry about the stats, and the matchups don't necessarily matter, right? The matchups don't necessarily matter. the film, watching the highlights and the clips and all that. That doesn't really matter. Home field certainly doesn't matter, even though the Dodgers had home field. That doesn't matter. The injuries, the Dodgers were tattered, weather-beaten. It didn't matter. All that matters is who does better in the moment. And the Dodgers, obviously, under the immense pressure, did better than the choking dog New York Yankees. And to think the Dodgers, with all these great teams they've had over the last 10, 15 years, and teams that were healthy for the most part in the playoffs, and it's this team that is, I'm telling you, they were going to the back of the refrigerator. They were going through the Tupperware trying to find somebody to pitch in some of these situations here, and they did it. I mean, forget plan B. This was plan Z for the Dodgers, and they end up winning the World Series. It all worked, and it's symbolic also that it validates the years of success. One of the big criticisms, I saw Stan Kasten, a lifetime baseball sports honk executive, used to be the GM of the Atlanta Hawks back in the day. I saw him on the dais there, and one of the big knocks, and the Dodgers, when they started this, they're like, we're going to copy the Atlanta Braves of the 90s. But the Braves, if you're old enough to remember those Braves teams, they had Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz, they only won one World Series. So it's like, well, they were in the World Series a bunch, but they only won one, and they had all these Hall of Famers. Well, now the Dodgers have won two. And so it's like a remote control situation. You hit the mute button on the remote control for the Dodgers because they win without their top pitchers. They win a second World Series. They do it without Ohtani doing anything. He sucked. He was terrible in the World Series. His dog Decoy would have been better. Just horrible. And I'm not going to change my position. A lot of you are like, well, you're going to change. You know, the Dodgers, they won. This proves that this is harder than what happened in 2020. No. I maintain my position that the 2020 World Series was harder than this. And this doesn't change that. Both the fact that they've won two in this stretch of time, that was much more difficult than this one. Even with all the injuries and all that. But it was fundamentally different. That season was fundamentally different. It was much, much harder. Where in basketball, it was much more difficult. Or much easier, rather, I should say, in basketball. They had 3 months off before the playoffs. In baseball, it was rapid fire. But we're not here to adjudicate that again. The Dodgers are the champions of baseball. The celebration underway. How's that Mookie Betts trade working out for Boston? You guys happy with that return there? You gave away Mookie Betts and now 2 championships with the Doyers after signing that massive, massive contract.